Grandma Alara and her grandson Leo lived in a little cottage. The cottage was very cozy. It had a stone chimney that puffed out smoke in the winter. The roof was made of thick green moss like a soft blanket. A small wobbly fence went around their garden. The fence was painted a cheerful blue. Leo liked to run his fingers along the bumpy wood. Their cottage was not big, but it was full of love and warm cookies. It was the only home Leo had ever known, and he thought it was the best place in the whole wide world. He and Grandma Alara were a team. Their home sat at the edge of a big, quiet forest. Tall trees stood like friendly giants all around them. In the morning, the sun would peek through the leaves and make shiny patterns on the floor. Leo called them sunspots and would try to catch them. The cottage had one big room for everything. There was a kitchen corner with a wooden table, a cozy living area with a squishy armchair, and two small beds tucked away near the fireplace. Everything had its place, and everything felt just right. Grandma Alara said their home was small on the outside, but big on the inside because it was filled with happiness. Outside, a little stream gurgled and giggled its way past their garden. Leo and Grandma Alara loved to sit by the water and listen to its song. The garden was Grandma Alara's special place. It was filled with colorful flowers like red poppies and bright yellow daffodils. Fat bumblebees buzzed from one flower to another, looking for sweet nectar. Leo had his own little patch in the garden where he grew 3 very important carrots. He checked on them every day, making sure they were growing big and strong, just like Grandma Alara told him to. He wanted them to be perfect for her special stew. Every evening, the cottage glowed. A warm, yellow light shone from the windows, making it look like a lantern in the dark forest. It was a welcoming sight. Inside, the smell of baking bread or simmering soup would fill the small space. Grandma Alara would hum a happy tune while she cooked, and Leo would draw pictures at the kitchen table. He drew pictures of their cottage, the forest, and his amazing grandma. He used bright crayons to show how happy their life was. Their little home was a haven, a safe and loving place where they looked after each other every single day. The day always started the same wonderful way. The first thing Leo heard was the cheerful chirping of birds outside their window. He would open his eyes and see Grandma Alara already awake. She would be by the fireplace, gently poking the embers to bring the fire back to life. She moved quietly, so she would not wake him up too soon. But Leo always woke up anyway. He loved watching her. She had a kind face with little wrinkles around her eyes that appeared when she smiled. Her hair was as white as snow, and she always wore it in a neat bun. After the fire was crackling, Grandma Alara would start making breakfast. The sound of her humming mixed with the sizzle of porridge on the stove was Leo's favorite morning music. She would make a big pot of warm, creamy porridge with a swirl of honey on top. Leo's job was to set the table. He would carefully place 2 wooden bowls and 2 spoons on the small table. He made sure everything was perfectly straight. He felt very grown up and helpful. When breakfast was ready, they would sit together and eat, talking about the plans for the day. Grandma Alara always asked Leo what he dreamed about. After their bowls were empty, it was time for chores. But their chores never felt like work. They felt like a game they played together. Grandma Alara would wash the dishes in a big basin of warm, soapy water, and Leo would dry them with a soft cloth. He had to stand on a small stool to reach the shelf where the bowls went. Then, they would go outside to feed the chickens. Leo loved the chickens. He would scatter the feed on the ground and laugh as they scurried and pecked. Grandma Alara would collect the warm, brown eggs from the coop, always letting Leo carry one back to the cottage very, very carefully. Their mornings were slow and peaceful. There was no rush. They took their time with everything. Sometimes, after the chores were done, they would sit on the front step. Grandma Alara would tell Leo stories about when she was a little girl. She told him about climbing trees and chasing butterflies. Leo would listen, his eyes wide with wonder. He loved her stories. He felt like he was right there with her. These quiet moments were special. They were building memories, one gentle morning at a time in their happy little home surrounded by the whispering woods. One sunny afternoon, Grandma Alara had an exciting idea. "Leo," she said, her eyes twinkling, "the blackberries in the forest are ripe and ready. It is time for our great blackberry adventure." Leo's face lit up with joy. This was his favorite time of year. Grandma Alara packed a basket with 2 empty buckets, some water, and a few of her famous oatmeal cookies for a snack. Leo put on his sturdiest boots, ready for the journey. He felt like a real explorer setting off on an important mission. This was more than just picking fruit. It was a special tradition they shared. They walked hand in hand into the forest. The path was dappled with sunlight. Grandma Alara pointed out interesting things along the way. She showed Leo a spider web that looked like it was spun with silver thread. She showed him a woodpecker tapping on a tree, making a funny drumming sound. Leo listened and learned. He knew the names of many flowers and birds because of his grandma. She taught him to be gentle and respectful of nature. "The forest is a home for many creatures, Leo," she would say. "We are just visitors here." He always remembered her words and walked carefully. Soon they reached a clearing where big, bushy blackberry bushes grew wild. The berries were dark purple, almost black. They were plump and shiny, like little jewels hanging from the branches. "Here we are!" Grandma Alara announced. They got to work. Grandma Alara showed Leo how to pick only the darkest, softest berries. The sour ones, she explained, needed more sunshine. Their fingers soon became stained with purple juice. Leo giggled as he looked at his hands. He popped one berry into his mouth. It was sweet and warm from the sun. It was the most delicious thing he had ever tasted. They filled their buckets to the very top. The buckets were heavy, and Leo helped his grandma carry the big basket back to the cottage. He felt very strong and proud. When they got home, they washed the berries. That evening, the cottage smelled heavenly. Grandma Alara was baking a blackberry pie. The crust was golden brown, and the sweet purple filling bubbled through the top. They ate a big slice each for dessert, with a dollop of fresh cream. It was the perfect end to their perfect adventure. Leo knew he would never forget the day of the great blackberry hunt. As the sun began to set, the sky turned into a beautiful painting of orange, pink, and purple. This was another special time for Leo and Grandma Alara. After dinner, they would clean up together. Leo would wash and Grandma Alara would dry, the opposite of their morning routine. Then, they would prepare for the evening. Grandma Alara would get her knitting, her needles clicking together softly, making a cozy sound. Leo would get his favorite storybook, the one with pictures of dragons and brave knights. They would settle into their chairs near the warm, glowing fireplace. Grandma Alara would read to Leo every single night. Her voice was soft and calm, and she made different voices for all the characters in the story. Leo would lean against her, feeling safe and warm. He loved the feeling of her arm around him. Sometimes he would get sleepy and his eyes would start to close, but he always tried to stay awake until the end of the story. He did not want to miss a single word. These moments were full of peace and comfort. It was just the two of them, together in their little home with a good story to share. Before bed, they had one last ritual. They would step outside onto the small porch. They would look up at the night sky. On clear nights, the sky was filled with millions of twinkling stars. Grandma Alara taught Leo how to find the Big Dipper. "Look, Leo," she would whisper, pointing. "Each star is like a little wish waiting to be made." They would stand there in the quiet of the night, holding hands and make their wishes. Leo always wished for his grandma to be happy and healthy. He never told her his wish, because he knew wishes only came true if you kept them a secret. Their life in the cottage was simple, but it was rich with love. They didn't have much, but they had each other, and that was more than enough. Every day was a gift. From the sunny mornings to the starry nights, their lives were woven together with threads of kindness, care, and shared adventures. The little cottage was not just a building made of wood and stone. It was a home built with love. And in that home, a grandmother and her grandchild lived a very happy, very wonderful life, full of small joys that made every day feel special.